Love this article. Barry Habib and Logan Mohtashami, who I've referenced here on the podcast a couple times. He is the chief economist for Housing Wire. And Barry Habib, you all know who Barry Habib is. With MBS Highway, we've had his son Dan on here a number of times on market shares. And they were on a panel together at a Housing Wire conference and said that the housing market is set for a surge with all the pent-up demand. Now, we've talked about this for a long time, and I think the thing to recognize here is we're not quite ready for that surge yet. What they're referring to is when rates start getting under the 6 handle, when we start getting into the mid or even the low 5s, which we're not there yet, but if that were to happen, we've seen multiple indicators that there would be a surge in pent-up housing demand, people that have been waiting years, really, for interest rates to get back down into that realm. So this, to me, is just some real optimism about what could potentially happen if we see expectations exceed what is currently, kind of forecasted for 2026 rates, which is really to be in that 5 3/4 to 6 1/4 range throughout the year. But if we see anything dip below that, sounds to me like both Barry and Logan are both hot on the idea that we could see a pretty significant surge in pent-up housing. And hey, I would welcome that. So let's keep an eye out on those interest rates and what happens there. I talk a lot about refinances lately on this podcast, and Optimal Blue reported in their data that there was a 50% jump in refis in January with the dip in rates that we saw. You guys, 50% jump in refinance business, which is already up, by the way, from where it's been. So if you are still missing the refinance train, you are missing out on opportunity. And, these aren't all just your rate term refinances. Obviously, there's a lot of cash out options right now, but there's definitely rate term options. There's removing MI. Keep in mind, rates really jumped up in late 2022. So we have a couple years now of rates where, gosh, they were darn near knocking on the door of 8%, and some borrowers that might have had challenged credit or other factors, could have rates in the low 8s. And can definitely be poised for rate term refinances. So when I see a headline like this, that just in January, 50% jump in refinance applications, look at your pipeline. Did you see a jump in your refinance business? And if not, look at what you're doing. We talk a lot about staying in touch with our database, looking for those opportunities. So just know this is what the headlines are. And I use this as a barometer to say, okay, where am I at with this? I'm definitely working with my teams to make sure that we're, not focused on refinances to the point where it takes away from our purchase focus. I mean, we are a purchase focus, organization as loan officers that are out building relationships, self-sourcing our business. Most of us are focused on purchases, but you can't miss the refinance opportunities when they're there. And if you're not looking for them, and you don't have the strategies to go after them, might be something you want to, tune into a little bit right now, because there's definitely been a jump.